Let's get ready to mortgage. He is the prince of programs, guru of guidelines, master of matrices. He puts the fun in funding. Please welcome Mark, Mr. Mortgage Eitel.
All right. My name is Mark Eitel, and you are listening to the Mr. Mortgage Show. And you, my friends, are in the right place if you want the data, the information, the inside scoop, if you will, all the info that you need to go out there and make better real estate and mortgage decisions for you and your family. Because, guys, let's face it, there is a ton of news out there swirling around, headlines after headlines saying that the market's crashing. We're in a housing recession, I think was the latest one that I read. And yeah, it's super confusing out there. If you watch the news and you read the headlines, then it's easy to surmise that, we're teetering on a housing crash. And man, oh man, if I'm tired of hearing that, this is 2008 all over again. That's an understatement, and I get it. I mean, I really do. It feels so similar. I mean, rapid appreciation. What are we, 3 years in a row now of this ridiculous appreciation? Most recently, 2.5 years, but it's been nuts. And I totally understand how it feels like 2005, but we're going to cover several reasons why it's not 2005. We're going to get to all your questions. If you have questions, I might as well throw out the Anytime hotline. You can call or text your questions to 855-462-7292. That is the Anytime hotline, 855-462-7292. That is our brand new toll-free Anytime hotline because we have listeners in several area codes now throughout the state. So we're super excited to welcome the new listeners to the party, but we wanted to make it easy on everybody. So 855-462-7292 is your toll-free pass to the fun. So call or text your questions in. Jennifer is womanning the hotline and she'll get your questions on the air. So anyway, as I mentioned, I always like to, dive into the news of the week, and it was another crazy week in real estate and mortgages. Interest rates jumped back up. A couple weeks ago, we were happy to report they were pulling back a little bit, but we're, right back where we were in the end of June, beginning of July. So the good news is that we're still in a rather attractive interest rate environment historically. And I get it. We talked about the recency bias where, the most recent data that we digest seems to hold the most credibility. And we were, recently spoiled by 2% and 3% interest rates, but we've quickly had those erased over the first half of this year. And they're not going back there anytime soon. So I'm seeing people shake off the recency bias. And just to show you how strong that recency bias is, I was at the gas pump and filled my tank at $3.57 a gallon. Super excited to do that at Cumberland Farms of all places. But I pulled into Cumbie and I filled up my tank, and I almost had a glint in my eye when I was looking at $3.57 rather a gallon. And it felt cheap to me because we were very close to $5 not too long ago. And then I realized, wow, that's the recency bias in effect, right in full force, right in my own brain, because $3.57 is quite a hike from the $2 it was a couple years ago. But compared to the $5 that we almost saw quite recently, it felt cheap. So I say all that just to share that what happened yesterday is indeed just that. It's yesterday. And we've got to deal with the data of today. And the key point in all of that is the data, because as you know, if you've listened to the show for any period of time, I like to pull a couple headlines out of the news cycle of the week and just digest them. And there was a lot of news the last couple weeks regarding housing is in a recession. And it's super funny to me that, we won't say the economy is in a recession, but how quickly everybody's pointing fingers at the housing market saying, finally, and they're calling this a recession. And in its purest form, it is, right? Because a recession, by definition, is a market contraction for 2 quarters or more. And over the course of the last 2 quarters, we've seen the number of houses contract, the number of sold houses contract. But here's the key component. There's fewer houses getting listed there's fewer houses being built. So while there is less demand because interest rates have increased, there's still not enough supply. So the number of units per month, year over year, and the most recent data that we're looking at is July, because we're always looking back, is down. There's fewer homes in July of this year than last. But here's the thing. They're selling for more than they did last year. So prices are still appreciating, but we're selling fewer units. And who cares how many units are selling? You want to know, if you're selling, can I sell my house? And if you're buying, are there houses to buy? And yes, there is more available choice at the moment, because as fewer houses are selling, you have more choice. And I'm super excited to see the health of the market returning, meaning buyers and sellers negotiating on both sides of the transaction to make it work. But here's the thing. Home price growth is still up, depending on where you live. Each area is different. This is a nationwide average because of the article. But I know areas here, Palm City, 20% year over year. In the heart of Port St. Lucie, we're still seeing big increases. In Martin County, down in Stewart, still big year over year appreciation. So this article says 18%, but I've seen firsthand some neighborhoods in our own area that have appreciated quite a bit more than that. So 18% year over year. And I'll publish this article to the Facebook group. Go to Facebook and search The Mr. Mortgage Show. But you'll find it super interesting because it deep dives the law of supply and demand. And that's what you've heard me say for months and months and months. Since actually over a year ago, I've been talking about supply and demand on any outlet I can be on, whether I'm being interviewed on someone else's show, whether I'm being interviewed on a podcast, or whether it's on this show, the Mr. Mortgage Show, on any one of the stations that we're on. You've heard me say supply and demand control pricing. That's it. It doesn't matter what the cost of money is. The cost of money can quell demand, but the cost of money doesn't control directly supply. And this is another thing that we talked about. As interest rates and home prices increased at the same time, it was like, the little pile of poo marching towards the fan. You knew it was going to meet at some point, and it has. Because right now, today, it's unlikely that you're going to want to sell your property because moving up moving next door costs more. Most people couldn't afford to buy the house they're in today if they had to start all from scratch and pay today's interest rates and today's prices. So there are a lot of people who refinanced. I think the increase in interest rates coupled with the increase in prices is making it less desirable to put your house on the market. And more houses on the market is what it's going to take at any interest rate for prices to go down, because until there's more people who want to sell than want to buy, prices are at very least going to hold. And there was Diane Olick from CNBC, who a lot of people love to hate because she's a big, poo on the real estate market. But I also think that's just the straw that she drew at the network. But anyway, she had a report on CNBC.com this week that said, I don't remember who it was, Charles Schwab or somebody like that, money management company, were forecasting 0% appreciation next year. And even at 0% appreciation, it still makes sense to buy real estate because you're going to pay a mortgage. You might as well pay yours instead of your landlord's. And even if prices aren't appreciating, each month that you make a mortgage payment, you're reducing your principal. And I've talked about it many, many times. There's a podcast episode at Mr. Mortgage Radio where we talked about the ugly sister and the sexy sister. And the sexy sister, and I'm sorry, guys, it could be sexy brother. I don't mean to be sexist. It's just I think in pictures. And I was actually thinking of Cinderella when I told this story, so it wasn't anybody in particular, unlike last week's grandma's mustache story. But anyway, the sexy sister is appreciation. It's fast and they're big numbers and it's exciting. But the tried and true method of equity wealth is principal reduction. So every day that you go home and you make a mortgage payment, you're reducing how much you owe, you're gaining equity. And even at a stagnant appreciation rate, which never is going to hold for a long period of time, it still makes sense to buy real estate. So anyway, I'm obviously convicted. I'm not conflicted, I promise. I'm convicted and passionate about real estate because I've seen the difference that it makes in people's lives. And we'll share some of those stories. But hey, you hear that? That's my cue. We'll be back in 2. Sit tight. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Hey, it's Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. You hear me all the time talking about the need to have the very best team representing you in a real estate transaction, and that starts with a really great agent. If you've got a great agent, that's awesome, but if you don't, check out www.reallyGreatAgents.com. There you'll find the best of the best, regardless of the city they work in or the brokerage they work for. www.reallyGreatAgents.com, www.reallyGreatAgents.com.
Here's another 5-star review.
We started our loan with a different company. They said we were approved, but at the last minute they told us there was a problem. I still don't know what went wrong, but thankfully our real estate agent told us about Mark. I was pretty stressed, but it's the perfect house, so we gave Mark a shot. He got it done. I'm not sure what was different, but I don't really care. We even got a better interest rate and with less money out of pocket than the first guy quoted us. It was a great surprise. Yes, I'm happy to recommend Mark and his Mr. Mortgage team.
Hey, it's Mark Eitel here, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. And you've heard me talk about the valuation tool that we use in our lending practice almost daily. It's not quite an appraisal, but it's way more accurate than one of those online estimates. And we're happy to run one of those reports for you at no charge. Just visit freevaluereport.org. That's freevaluereport.org. Give us a little information about the property, and we'll be happy to send you your report. That's freevaluereport.org.
Are inflation and everyday expenses eating into your retirement income? Maybe you've considered a reverse mortgage and have unanswered questions like, do I still own my property? Can the bank kick me out? What happens when I die? Can I still leave my house to my kids? These are all great questions. Visit www.moreaboutreverse.com to learn more. That's www.moreaboutreverse.com. www.moreaboutreverse.com.
Welcome back to the Mr. Mortgage Show. Call us now at 855-462-7292.
All right, we are back. My name is Mark Eitel, and you are still listening to the Mr. Mortgage Show, and we're super excited to have you with us. So I have completed my rant on why I think the news cycles and the headlines are all just to get your attention. And guys, I get it. You know, there definitely is a change in the market. I think it's encouraging because negotiating a sale from the standpoint of a buyer is certainly easier now. And if you're a seller, it's encouraging that there's still rather limited inventory compared to historic norms. So I'm going to publish the article that I referenced in the opening segment to the Facebook page because there's a ton of good data in there. And it's the first summation that really lines up with my personal viewpoint that I've been sharing on the air for, quite some time now. And it really digs into supply and demand. And that's the only logical reason why prices are still appreciating at such a healthy clip. And I guess at an unhealthy clip in the sense that we can't keep this up indefinitely or no one's going to be able to afford a house anymore. But for the time being, there is still constraint on the supply side. And I think part of the problem is that a lot of people who maybe would have sold are rethinking it, just sitting tight because, they could renovate their property and sit tight and have a load of equity in it, and they don't have to go out and spend twice as much for virtually the same house. Anyway, I share all that only because I hear so much news during the week, so many people. It's like that old Clash song, should I stay or should I go now? People just don't know what to do because, the headlines are confusing them. And I host a talk on Tuesdays at 2:00. It's a national conference call for real estate agents. And I just do an open format Q&A where agents from all over the country can ask any questions that they want. And we were talking in length about all of the transition of the market. And long story short, for the most part, everybody reported that the market still seems super healthy as far as activity. Even though the numbers are down, they're still seeing demand. I read a recent NAR report that said the average listing is, going under contract in, I think it was 8 or 9 days and closing within 47 days of it being put on the market. So that's still El Scorcho, mi amigo. That's super fast. But anyway, I kind of wrapped that talk up with sharing just a personal philosophy that it's really scary to make life decisions based on someone else's crystal ball. Take the data that I'm providing you. I'm happy to answer your questions and research the data sources yourself. Kind of just take it all in and come up with your own conclusion based on the data that you're provided. Because somebody somewhere last year asked somebody, do you think it's a good time to buy? And they said, no, I would rent. And that person rented for another year. Where are they now? Well, I mean, they're going to spend at least another 20% on the property, and they're spending 2 or 3% more on an interest rate compared to where they would have been last year. So I think that answer, is it a good time to buy or a good time to sell, is super personal, and it's based on each individual's specific needs and wants and goals. Take all of the information. I'm happy to answer any questions you have and help you come to a conclusion, but make it your own conclusion, because somebody today, right now, who's driving in their car is deciding whether they're going to buy or sell real estate. And if they're just doing it based on, Diana Olick's report this week, they may back off. I mean, I saw a report the other day that said interest rates will tumble back into the low 4s in 2023. Okay, that's awesome, but I don't know that that's going to happen, because the very same economists who published that article, it was Fannie Mae's economists, it's on the Facebook page, they said in December of 2021 that by the end of 2022, interest rates may touch, in their article, not my words, may touch 3.3%. Yeah, they touched 3.3%. They slapped it, they flipped it, they rubbed it down, kicked it aside, and kept on marching right up to 6%. So I share all that only because even somebody who could be perceived as a brilliant economist suggested rates would not top out over 3.3%. They're looking quite foolish now, and it's just hard to put a lot of faith in someone else's predictions, if you will, because they're just predictions. I like to look at the data. I like to look at where we came from and where we are today and do my very best to make an educated assumption as to where we're going, but the decision needs to be based on today. Right now, today, can you afford the payment? Because the reality is, it doesn't matter how much the money costs. It doesn't matter how much the house costs. Everybody shops based on their payment. Heck, you're qualified based on your payment. If somebody pulls your credit and says, okay, you're a 620 credit score, you're a W-2 wage earner, you qualify for a 6% interest rate. It's not how it works. They do all of that work. They calculate your debt to income ratio, and they say, okay, you qualify for a payment of $2,300 a month. At $2,300 a month, with today's interest rate, you can qualify for whatever that magic number, $300,000. Let's just throw numbers out there. These are all just round numbers for conversation's sake. So my point in that is that $2,300 a month is the magic number, because $2,300 a month at 3% will buy you a heck of a lot more house than it will at 6%. But the interest rate and the house price doesn't matter. You're qualified on payment. So focus on your budget. Can you afford the payment? If you can afford the payment, there's still opportunity out there. That's all I'm going to say on that. We're going to leave it there. I am going to throw it over to Jennifer, who's patiently waiting. I don't know how patiently she's waiting, to be honest with you. Hey, Jen, do we have any questions over there?
We have a lot of questions this week, Mark. The natives are definitely restless.
The natives. I might have stirred some people up, so for that, I apologize. If I caused some restless natives, it might be on me. But I know that the Pizzle has not let us down. There has been some great questions ever since we've been on the air here at WPSL. So you guys might just naturally be restless. But hey, let me throw it over to Jen and get the question portion of the show started. What do we have, Jen?
Brian is asking, I'm reading about a 40-year mortgage. Is this really a thing? One guy even says there's a 50-year mortgage.
Hey, Brian, that is a great question. I'm hearing the same talk. There is a 40-year mortgage. Right now, it's primarily for investors, and it's designed to, there's even an interest-only component to it. But I guess let me not go down that rabbit trail unless you have investor questions. But yes, it's a thing. Some people are talking about a 50-year mortgage. They're talking about this is going to be the savior of the market and make prices or payments, right? Because we were just talking about payments, affordable, because now instead of 30 years, you're spreading them out over 40 or 50. But guess what, guys? All that's going to do is cause an increase in property values, because everybody who's qualified for, to use that example, $2,300, if a 30-year mortgage, they qualify for $300, then maybe a 40-year mortgage, they qualify for $400. So all that's going to do is increase values right up to $400,000 again. The 50-year mortgage will do the same thing. Heck, if you're bored and you want to do a little research, Google the 100-year mortgage, in the Japanese economy, and see what that did. It didn't make homes affordable. It made it a multi-generational inheritance plan, because you're financing it for 100 years. You're never going to own it. So they were passing the property down, and the new generation was acquiring the property. Because anyway, Google the 100-year mortgage in Japan. I think you'll find it interesting. But hey, let's keep the questions going. Jen, what else do you have over there?
Walt sent this one. I've been listening to your podcast. I agree, we're in a recession now, but won't rates come back down when the recession gets worse? I'm trying to figure out if buying now makes sense.
Hey, Walt, that, my man, is a great question. That is the unknown. Shake the magic 8 ball, rub the crystal ball, because we don't know. The reality is, if you historically, a recession will cause monetary policy to ease because they have to kickstart everything. My challenge in buying into that is I don't think it's going to happen fast, and I don't think it's going to be great reductions in any rates. I think we might see a little bit of a dip, and the reason I share that is we're starting at such an artificially low number based on where we've come from with this whole COVID response thing and all of the federal government's, just crazy spending. That's caused this inflation, that's caused now the monetary policy that's triggered the recession. I say all that just to share that from where we're starting from, I don't know that there's a lot of downward opportunity with rates, because we should have never been in the 2s and 3s. We should have never been there. That's the challenge. It wasn't a natural economic cycle that put us there. It was a once in a lifetime, global pandemic, and the monetary, whether you agree with the politics of yesterday or today, the monetary policy and the reaction at a federal level is what triggered where we are now, because interest rates were artificially driven down, and that was a byproduct of all the money that flooded the market. So I share all that just to say I'm not quite certain that it's going to happen this time, and if it does, I don't think we're looking at huge reductions in interest rates because of that. Everybody goes back to the Paul Volcker years, and they talk about interest rates went from 5% to 12% and then to 16 and 18%, and then they came back down to the 7s. So that seems like a big move, but don't forget it was a big move up, and we're not seeing big moves up. We're seeing reasonable moves up based on artificially low starting points. So anyway, I share all that just because I'm not sure waiting is the answer if you're able to now make the opportunity work for you. But anyway, thanks for that question. I certainly appreciate it. You hear the music? That is my cue. We'll be back in 2. So sit tight for 2 short minutes, and we will be back. Hey, it's Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. You hear me all the time talking about the need to have the very best team representing you in a real estate transaction. And that starts with a really great agent. If you've got a great agent, that's awesome. But if you don't, check out www.reallyGreatAgents.com. There you'll find the best of the best, regardless of the city they work in or the brokerage they work for. www.reallyGreatAgents.com. www.reallyGreatAgents.com.
Here's another 5-star review.
We kept our business above water with credit cards during the pandemic. I'm glad we did. Business is better than ever. But I didn't want to be a slave to those credit card payments. I called Mark about the REC loan he advertises. Long story short, we did a REC refinance and paid off everything, even the car. Now we only have the mortgage payment. We're saving a bunch every month. Yes, we are happy to recommend Mark and the Mr. Mortgage team.
Hey, it's Mark Eitel here, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. And you've heard me talk about the valuation tool that we use in our lending practice almost daily. It's not quite an appraisal, but it's way more accurate than one of those online estimates. And we're happy to run one of those reports for you at no charge. Just visit freevaluereport.org. That's freevaluereport.org. Give us a little information about the property, and we'll be happy to send you your report. That's freevaluereport.org.
Are inflation and everyday expenses eating into your retirement income? Maybe you've considered a reverse mortgage and have unanswered questions like, do I still own my property? Can the bank kick me out? What happens when I die? Can I still leave my house to my kids? These are all great questions. Visit www.moreaboutreverse.com to learn more. That's www.moreaboutreverse.com. www.moreaboutreverse.com. More about Reverse.com.
Welcome back to the Mr. Mortgage Show. Call us now at 855-462-7292.
All right, we are back, and you heard the man. If you want your questions on the air, call or text 855-462-7292. That's 855-462-7292. That is the Anytime Hotline, 855-462-7292. Had to do that a third time because I was told if you want somebody to remember your number, give it to them 3 times. So thank you for tolerating that third. Well, let's do it one more time. 855-462-7292. Now you'll never forget. Call or text your questions, and we'll get you on the air. Jen is standing by, womaning the hotline. She's also watching the emails, so if you're more comfortable on the computer, you can go to www.mr.mortgage. That's mr.mortgage, never a .com. Just go up to your address bar, type in Mr., hit the dot, type in the word mortgage, and then enter. The website will pop up. In the upper right-hand corner is the Contact Us box, and you can put your questions there, and she'll be able to read them on the air for you. So we encourage your questions, and I am going to do a rapid round of questions because I went long-winded to open the show, and I love getting to your questions. But before we do that, I want to share something we've got going on in October. So we got a whole month to plan for this, guys. You know, you'll get to know me better as we continue to spend more time with each other on the air. But there are a couple of charities that are super important to me. Anything cancer-related, anything veteran-related, touch my heart for personal reasons, and we'll dive into that as we get to know one another better. But Sunday, October 2nd, there's a very cool event that's happening to benefit Molly's House down in Stuart. And if you don't know the story behind Molly's House, please check it out. It's an amazing story, what one family did in the face of tragedy to make life better for people who are also suffering. So I'm a big fan of Molly's House and what they do. There's a Purple Cow poker run. So if you're familiar with motorcycles or even speedboats, you know what a poker run is, right? We all get together when we ride from stop to stop, and at each stop we pull out a poker card, and at the end of the 5 stops, whoever has the best hand wins. There's a ton of prizes. Anyway, all the proceeds go to Molly's House. So there's a motorcycle poker run that ends up at Molly's House on the 2nd of October, and then the party at Molly's House starts at 2:30. And there's a great local band. If you guys are into rock and roll, you guys know I play. These guys won't let me play with them, though. But Switch and Whiskey, awesome local band. They're going to be there. There's a fun day filled with music and motorcycles and just a lot of doing good. So if you're into that kind of stuff and you want more information, you can give Katie a call at Molly's House, and her number is 772-223. What is it here? 6659. Sorry, don't have my glasses on. 6659. But that's October 2nd. And if you don't ride a motorcycle and you just want to come to Molly's House and hang out and enjoy some really good food and some good music and some good camaraderie, come out and hang out with us. The Mr. Mortgage crew will be there. We're probably going to get the bikes out. If you've been on the Facebook page, you see that I'm into old cars, so we might bring out the old Lincoln or get some buddies to bring some cool cars out and, hang out with us and do some good, benefit Molly's House. So I wanted to share that. I know Mindy and Katie are working their butts off to raise awareness, and we're going to do our part. So if you decide to check out Molly's House and do the Purple Cow run, tell them you heard about it on the Mr. Mortgage Show, and we'll post more information to the Facebook page regarding that. But, hey, that housekeeping is out of the way. I wanted just to spread the word about that because that's going to be a fun day. But that being said, I also think your questions are fun. So let me throw it over to Jen for another question. Hey, Jen, what do we have?
Susan sent a text. My lease is up in a couple of months. I'd like to try and buy something. I'm a first-time buyer. Are there any special programs for first-time buyers?
That was Susan? Okay. Hey, Susan. There are loads of first-time buyer programs. You've probably heard a lot of news about Hometown Heroes. Hometown Heroes can provide a second mortgage that will allow you to borrow more money. The goal of that program is to get you up to 100% loan to purchase price so that you're just bringing minimal money to the closing. If you have as little as a 3% down payment, there's a load of programs that you can access without even using something like Hometown Heroes or a down payment assistance program. You know, if your credit score is, think over 600, 620 definitely opens up a broader spectrum. but over 600 with a down payment of 3 or 3.5%, you'll have access to a host of first-time buyer programs. And I'm happy to walk you through and answer more questions and just help you get prepared for that. So 855-462-7292 would be the best way to get us if you had more questions around that. But appreciate the call. Hope that helps. Hey, Jen, what else do we have?
Ian sent a text. My neighbor's son is offered to buy our house. If we decided to sell, we're not sure where to start. Should we get an appraisal to determine the price? Neither of us want to use a realtor. Any suggestions?
Okay, I started to jump in there too quick because I was going to recommend you a really great real estate agent. But I get it. You know, in this market, we've seen a lot of people capitalize on the demand and just go without an agent. So to answer your question regarding the appraisal, that's not a bad idea. I've got friends over at SoFlo Appraisal, and they'll do a discounted appraisal for you if it's just for establishing a purchase price, if it's not being underwritten by a lender. That being said, I can help you with that. Just give me a call or shoot me. Actually, we have your information, so I'll shoot you back their contact information. But also, too, I can give you access to the free value report that we talk about all the time. We use it, you know, just to make sure properties are going to appraise before we actually send the appraiser out there and incur that cost for the client. So we run the report. It's 8 or 10 pages, depending on the property, how much data is available. But it gives you a pretty accurate number of what it's going to be worth as far as appraisal and comps and things of that nature. It's not an appraisal. But it's much more accurate than, you know, one of the typical online things. And best part is you don't have to fill out a form that's going to end up having your phone blown up, because we've all done that. Just go to freevaluereport.org. That's O-R-G, freevaluereport.org. You will have to type in your email address because we need to send you back the report, but that's it. You don't have to give a phone number or a property address, an email address, and we'll shoot you back that report. That might be a good jumping off place just to, you know, get an idea of a value, make sure he's okay with paying, you know, fair market value for the property. And then from there, if you need a referral to a title company, we work with some of the best right here in town. We can get you in touch with somebody because you're going to need somebody to facilitate the closing and handle the inflow and outflow of funds through the escrow account, and we can help you with a title company referral. But yeah, I'm going to shoot you back some info because we do have your contact information since you shot the question over. Hey, Jen, do me a favor and mark that so I can contact them after the show, at least send back an email. But yeah, hopefully that helps. We'll point you in the right direction. And if you get down the road and decide you would like a real estate agent, I can recommend somebody for you too, as far as that's concerned. So anyway, I appreciate that question. That was a super question. I wish you luck, and I'll be happy to help you along the way. Hey, Jen, do we have anything else over there?
Keith is asking, what are the pros and cons of an adjustable mortgage? Do you think this type of loan is a good idea to save on the rate?
Wow, that is a great question, Keith. That one could have a whole segment dedicated to it on its own. But anyway, to just make quick work of the answer, the adjustable rate mortgages of the past are no longer here. They were super dangerous. They were a trigger of the 2008, 2009, 10, 11, 12, crazy market that we're all afraid we're going to revisit. So an adjustable rate today is far, far different. There's not an interest-only period. The adjustments are far less extreme, and you're underwritten at the worst-case rate, so you'll be able to afford it. Is it the best option? I don't know. I would have to know a little bit more about your strategic plans for the property. Is this a set it and forget it, and this is going to be your forever home, and you don't want to look back? There might be a strategy around buying the rate down. That would make more sense than doing an adjustable rate that's ultimately going to, adjust back to a higher number. You hear a lot of people talking about a 2-1 buy down again. Those are now a thing. They were a thing all the way up until the recent market. And that allows you to buy the interest rate down 2% the first year, 1% the second year, and then it adjusts to normal. Now, me personally, I'm a bigger fan of buying the rate down for the whole 30-year cycle, especially if you're able to use the seller's money in that scenario. So this one's going to require a little more information because I'd like to, just really understand what your goals are for the property. And I'm happy to discuss it with you. So I encourage you to give us a shout off the air, 855-462-7292. When we're not here, that rings through to my office. So hopefully you found that interesting enough to get started with, and then give me a call and we will take it to the next step, and I'll give you more information when I know a little bit more, because I don't want to give you bad advice. So I appreciate the call, appreciate the question. Jen is playing the music. That's my cue. We'll be back in two very short minutes, and we'll be right back with you. Hang in there. Hey, it's Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. You hear me all the time talking about the need to have the very best team representing you in a real estate transaction. And that starts with a really great agent. If you've got a great agent, that's awesome. But if you don't, check out www.reallyGreatAgents.com. There you'll find the best of the best, regardless of the city they work in or the brokerage they work for. www.reallyGreatAgents.com. www.reallyGreatAgents.com.
Here's another 5-star review.
As a realtor, I have a bunch of mortgage brokers to choose from, but I prefer to work with Mark and his Mr. Mortgage team. In this crazy market, there is no room for error, especially on the mortgage side. Mark's team moves fast, keeps everybody in the loop, and makes things happen. They always give my clients a great deal and take the time to walk them through every step of the process. When you're considering a lender, I encourage you to talk to Mark Eitel and the Mr. Mortgage team.
Hey, it's Mark Eitel here, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. And you've heard me talk about the valuation tool that we use in our lending practice almost daily. It's not quite an appraisal, but it's way more accurate than one of those online estimates. And we're happy to run one of those reports for you at no charge. Just visit freevaluereport.org. That's freevaluereport.org. Give us a little information about the property, and we'll be happy to send you your report. That's freevaluereport.org.
Are inflation and everyday expenses eating into your retirement income? Maybe you've considered a reverse mortgage and have unanswered questions like, do I still own my property? Can the bank kick me out? What happens when I die? Can I still leave my house to my kids? These are all great questions. Visit www.moreaboutreverse.com to learn more. That's www.moreaboutreverse.com. www.moreaboutreverse.com.
Welcome back to the Mr. Mortgage Show. Call us now at 855-462-7292.
All right, we are back. My name is Mark Eitel, and you are listening to the Mr. Mortgage Show. Hey guys, if any of this is resonating with you and you want to listen to it again, or you missed the first part of the show, or you want to share the show with somebody, check out MrMortgageRadio.com. That's MrMortgageRadio.com. There, we post all of the replays of the radio shows. We're on a bunch of stations, so they're all there. Some different content, some stuff that you don't hear on PSL, because we do this show each Thursday just for the PSL family. But yeah, check out Mr. Mortgage Radio. There's a ton of stuff there. I think there's 60 or 70 episodes up there already. So super excited about that. Check it out, share the show. And if you've got friends or family or coworkers or, just the guy in front of you at the grocery store, if they're talking real estate or mortgages, I'm hoping that I can count on you to introduce them to us. Share the show or just tell them to give us a shout. I'd love to help them, love to answer their questions. We're always trying to grow the audience, and our goal is to kind of be the Pied Piper of mortgages and just kind of give you the real unemotional scoop regarding this, because there's a strategy that makes sense for real estate sales or purchases, regardless of the interest rate, regardless of which direction property values are going in. And I know that sounds crazy, but I've been doing this since Joe Biden was coherent and Trump was not hated. And I know that seems like a long time ago, but I got into the mortgage business back in 1999 down in Palm Beach County. I grew up in a family of home builders, so I was kind of always in real estate, but I, jumped into the finance side of things at a fairly young age in 1999, but been around a while, seen some things, and just try to use that lens of experience to kind of gauge where we are now. And there's tons of success stories and tons of horror stories based on some things that I've seen over the years. So the one thing I can promise you is I'll always give you the straight scoop and shoot from the hip and do my best to answer your questions. So with that being said, I'm going to throw it over to Jen to see if we have any more? What's that look for? What's happening over there?
I can't repeat that question on the air.
I understand. I had an interesting conversation after the show last week about the grandmother's mustache. I don't know if you guys were listening last week, but we were talking about I'm struggling with the name, but the lady who burns off the electrolysis machine she uses to remove the facial hair. And I talked about my buddy's grandmother getting the mustache burned off. And I bumped into somebody who had heard that, and they were giving me a little bit of grief. And I just told them, listen, mustached grandmothers are a fetish of mine. So I meant no insult. It's actually quite attractive. And they just they shook their head and walked away.
Oh, Mark, did you really say that? Yeah. Oh my gosh, Mark.
I did, but I was trying to cover my tracks because I thought it was a funny example last week that we used. But anyway, let me keep the conversation rolling. We're going to throw it over to Jen for another question.
Cindy is asking, my boyfriend and I are breaking up. We own our house together. He wants to keep the house. He's telling me all we have to do is a quick deed to take me off the house and mortgage. Is this true? Is it a long process?
Hey, Cindy. So yeah, that's not true. I mean, okay, so I think what he's talking about is a quit, Q-U-I-T, quit claim deed. And by executing a quit claim deed, you're essentially giving him ownership of the property. You're taking your name off the property. So in that sense, he's right. That would get the property just into his name. Here's the challenge, though. If the mortgage is in both your names, meaning you both signed the note, you both signed the promise to repay, that you executed the mortgage in both of your names, the quitclaim deed has nothing to do with the mortgage. You're still 50% responsible for the debt. So I get it. It's quick and painless just to do the quitclaim deed. The challenge is that if you do that and he stops making the mortgage payment for whatever reason at a later date, that's on your credit. You guys are both going through foreclosure together. And I have a feeling that you probably don't want to go through anything together after this is done. So a quit claim deed is not going to get you off the mortgage. It's not going to get you off the note. It's going to just remove you from the deed, which is the ownership document. So I say all that just to caution you because, the right strategy is whoever's going to keep the house, refinance it into their name. And I get it. They're probably resisting it because the interest rate may be higher. Who knows? They may no longer qualify for the mortgage, but that's the reality of things. We see it with divorce a lot, and sometimes it's used to spite the other person. We've seen ex-husbands who end up with the house who stop paying just to spite the ex-wife. We did a whole show on that. The wife starts to go to Anytime Fitness or Planet Fitness, and she's got her Lulus on and she's looking all sexy and fit. And the ex-husband starts to resent that. Now she's dating the trainer and she's looking 30 and not 50 anymore. And he stops paying the mortgage to hurt her credit. And we've seen it roll reversed as well. So I share all that just to say that, the quitclaim deed can accomplish the ownership structure or the structure of ownership for the property, but it's still going to leave you on the mortgage and on the instrument of debt so that if there is a problem down the road, you're going in foreclosure too. And if you try to buy something, that mortgage is on your credit report. So you're going to have to show that he's paying it or that you're able to pay both debts, or at least your half of that debt. So it's much more complicated than a lot of people think it's going to be. And to answer your question regarding the timeline, it's super quick. You can go down to the courthouse together and execute a quit claim deed and walk away and, walk in there as two people owning the property and walk out with just one owning it. But just keep all of that mortgage side of it in mind because that could come back to bite you in the future. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions around it or you guys want an attorney to help you with the quitclaim deed or the structure, or if you need help with the refinance, I'd love to do that too. But hopefully that gives you the information you need. There's way, way more to it than just the quitclaim deed. But if you have questions, give us a call, 855-462-7292. Let me throw it over to Jen and see if we can squeeze in another question.
Ruby sent this text. I was listening when you talked about how a landlord can report my rent payments to my credit report. Can you explain this and how do we do this?
Hey, Ruby, that is a great question, and thank you for listening. Somebody out there is paying attention. So traditionally, when you pay rent, it doesn't report to your credit report unless you go into default. Now, rent paid on time, reported, helps your credit score. It's another positive trade line that's reporting on your credit. So there's a new service out there. And I guess let me back up. I'm aware of a new service because I've heard in the past good stories and bad stories about this particular type of service. But there's a recent one that was just launched in the last couple years. My friend Frank Garay was telling me about it, and he's having good success with it. So what I'll do is I'll shoot you a text back with the link to the website. But basically, you enroll and your landlord starts to report your payment to this company that then in turn reports it to the credit agencies. And I believe there's a monthly fee. I don't think it's a lot, but it helps because now there's another positive trade line that's reporting on your credit. And with rents where they are today, if you're paying $15,000 or $2,000 or $25,000 or $3,000 a month, that's a positive payment showing on your credit report each month. So I'm thinking that's what you heard me talking about. That was a company that Frank found. He's a real estate agent in California. He was sharing it with me that they're using it to help people, first-time buyers, get their scores up where they need to be by giving them additional positive credit reports. So hopefully that helps. I'll get that information over to you, but I greatly appreciate your questions. So thank you for that. I'm not sure if we can squeeze another one in, but let me throw it over. Hey, Jen, do we have, what are you saying? Oh, no, she's playing the music. You know what that means? That music is my cue. We'll be back in two very short minutes. We're going to take a quick break. Hang in there. We'll get back to more of your questions right after this.
Hey, it's Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. You hear me all the time talking about the need to have the very best team representing you in a real estate transaction. And that starts with a really great agent. If you've got a great agent, that's awesome. But if you don't, check out www.reallyGreatAgents.com. There you'll find the best of the best, regardless of the city they work in or the brokerage they work for. www.reallyGreatAgents.com. www.reallyGreatAgents.com.
Here's another 5-star review.
My wife and I own a small business. And the way our accountant file our taxes, we don't show much income on tax returns. Because of this, it looks as if we don't make the money. This was a problem for our bank when we applied for a mortgage. But not for Mark. He verifies our income by using our monthly bank statements. Mark and his Mr. Mortgage team made a big difference for me. Yes, I am happy to recommend Mr. Mortgage Mark.
Hey, it's Mark Eitel here, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. And you've heard me talk about the valuation tool that we use in our lending practice almost daily. It's not quite an appraisal, but it's way more accurate than one of those online estimates. And we're happy to run one of those reports for you at no charge. Just visit freevaluereport.org. That's freevaluereport.org. Give us a little information about the property, and we'll be happy to send you your report. That's freevaluereport.org.
Are inflation and everyday expenses eating into your retirement income? Maybe you've considered a reverse mortgage and have unanswered questions like, do I still own my property? Can the bank kick me out? What happens when I die? Can I still leave my house to my kids? These are all great questions. Visit www.moreaboutreverse.com to learn more. That's www.moreaboutreverse.com. www.moreaboutreverse.com.
Welcome back to the Mr. Mortgage Show. Call us now at 855-462-7292.
All right, we are back. My name is Mark Eitel, and you are listening to the Mr. Mortgage Show. We do this each week right here, same time, same bat channel. So we're super excited to have you with us. We cover all things mortgage and real estate and do our best to answer your questions. So we're going to keep the questions flowing here in a minute, but if you have them, give us a call or shoot us a text to 855-462-7292. That's 855-462-7292, or shoot us a question via email. And you can do that by going to www.mr.mortgage. That's mr.mortgage, never a .com, just mr.mortgage. The website will pop up. There's a contact us box. You can type in your question there, and shoot it over. And I guess while we're rolling through websites, if you want to hear more of this chaos, then just visit MrMortgageRadio.com. MrMortgageRadio.com. You'll find all the podcast episodes. You will find all the replays of the variety of radio shows that we do. So super excited about that. But hey, we're going to keep your questions rolling. I know Jen's got a couple more teed up. Let me throw it over to Jen. Hey, Jen, what do you have?
Teresa's question is, how long does the reverse mortgage process take from when we first call you until it's done?
Hey, Teresa, that is a great question. So typically the reverse mortgage process is about 45 days. It's a little tiny bit slower than the normal mortgage process only because fewer people do them. And there's a lot of interest in them right now because of what's happening with fixed incomes and inflation. And inflation is just kicking the pants off of fixed incomes right now. And there are a lot of people who are just left with only the equity in their home to manage the retirement years, if you will. So we're doing a speaking series regarding reverse mortgages. So if anybody has interest in that, just give us a call or shoot us an email, and we'll get you invited. But we're starting the speaking series next month, and we're going to come out and we're going to be in community centers all up and down the East Coast, and we're going to talk about the pros, cons, the goods, the bads, the pretties and uglies of reverse mortgages, and just have an open Q&A forum. And you are certainly welcome to attend. Just touch base with us and let us know that you're interested. So I appreciate that. Hey, I'm going to throw it over and see if we can squeeze in another one. Jen, what do we have?
Here's a text from Danny. I checked out your Facebook page and saw your band. Do you guys ever play out?
Was that a planted question? Danny, thank you for that, brother. So you may or may not know, but I play the drums. This is the only time anyone ever gives me a microphone. They don't let me have a mic in the studio when we're playing. But we play out once in a while. We do fundraisers. You know, we're old guys. We don't like to drag the equipment out anymore. Most of the guys, we all played at some level earlier in life, either in bars or recording studios. So to do it now, it's just for fun. But, you know, a few times a year, we'll break out the equipment. We played for DDS for Vets last year down in Stewart for a big fundraiser. That was a lot of fun with those guys. But, you know, we're not good enough for the Molly's House fundraiser. If you guys hear Switchin' Whiskey, if you come out and hang out with us on October 2nd, you'll know why we're not playing that one. Speaking of that, hey, Jen, do me a favor and pick up that flyer with the big purple cow on it. Would you do me a favor and give the listeners the heads up on the Molly's House fundraiser?
Sure thing, Mark. Join us Sunday, October 2nd, for Wayne Sloat's first annual Purple Cow Poker Run, benefiting Molly's House. The address is 430 Southeast Osceola Street, Stewart. Live music with our own Switchin' Whiskey. For more information, please contact Katie at Molly's House, 772-223-6659.
Wow, that was a super professional read. I think you have a future in this business. Well done, and thank you for that. So yeah, come out and join us. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to raise some money for Molly's House and hear some good music, see some cool bikes, some cool cars. It's going to be a good time. So, hey, we've had some great questions this week. I really enjoy all the interaction. You guys never disappoint. Jen's wiping the sweat off her forehead over there. You guys have kept her jumping. But, we're at the stage in the show where I'm going to ask for a favor. And that favor is, if any of this resonates with you and you know somebody that could benefit from some inside information regarding mortgages or real estate, or they just might have questions. They might be thinking of buying or selling or refinancing property. I'd love for you to introduce them to me, my team, the show. I'd be happy to answer any of their questions. So they can find more info about us at MrMortgageRadio.com. That's MrMortgageRadio.com. And while we're doing that, hey, Jen, how do people get a hold of us when we're not on the air? Is there something called an anytime hotline?
So Mark has this anytime hotline. That means you can call toll-free anytime. 855-462-7292. Call or text anytime.
All right. That is the anytime hotline. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Say goodbye, Jen.
Goodbye, Jen. See you next week.
All right, we have had another fantastic week with you guys here on WPSL. Coming up next is the Clay and Buck Show. Hang in there for the big guys. Appreciate you letting us warm up the crowd. The Clay and Buck warm-up show. But yeah, we'll be here next week, same time, same station. So tune in and check us out. If you need us during the week, you know how to find us. Guys, have a great week.
That's a wrap. Join Mark Eitel next week for more thrilling, edge-of-your-seat discussions about real estate and mortgages right here on The Mr. Mortgage Show.